Hello, Waswere here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the new capes that are coming with the full front next week. Not only are they the new best in slot capes, providing plus 10 style bonus and plus 13 armor bonus over the current best capes, the kiln capes, but they also reduce the adrenaline cost of underused ultimate abilities and make them more powerful. In fact, powerful enough that they're actually worth using. Just as a little aside before we go any further, while the actual DPS increase for the extra style bonus depends on the gear you have on, you can roughly assume that for each increased style bonus, you would get 0.07% DPS. So just wielding this cape is already a 0.7% increase over the kiln capes without talking about its special effect. In terms of calculations, I assume that the perks used were Precise 6, Equilibrium 2, and Biting 4 that is level 20. These perks all affect the ability damage range and average damage, so it was worth talking about. I did ignore hit caps as it's hard to take into consideration with every person's different setup. I also didn't include the Grimoire due to its cost. With that out of the way, let's get into the abilities, starting with melee. The Igneous Calquette reduces the cost of overpower so that it now costs 60% of the usual adrenaline and hits twice. This is plainly a bad ability unmodified and should almost never be used. It's only ever used when you're low level in melee and haven't unlocked other abilities. I can't think of the last time I used this ability unironically. But with the cape on, it now costs 60% adrenaline, which could be reduced to 50% with the Ring of Vigor and 40% with the Ring of Vigor and Conservation of Energy Relic, and now hits twice for the same amount of damage. Below is the average ability damage of the two hits. They range from 245.81% as a minimum to 396.72% as a maximum, producing 655% ability damage average across the two hits. This is really nice because of the very high minimum hit. You're kind of guaranteed big damage. The best way to see how powerful these actually are is to compare it with a current ability that we can go out and use right now, the Dragon Claws. They cost 50% adrenaline, or 45% with a Ring of Vigor, and 40% with a Ring of Vigor and Conservation of Energy Relic. It hits over 4 total hits, giving it a total average damage of 317%, which is not even half of what Overpower gives. The best way to think of this is that Overpower now replaces claws wherever you use them. The only exception being a place like Telos, where the green beam allows you to use the claw spec repeatedly, as there is no cooldown in comparison with Overpower, which has a 30-second cooldown. Melee as a whole is starved for adrenaline compared to the other styles, so they are less likely to be able to take advantage of this new ability modification, mostly coming through when you get a relentless proc on your Berserk. And the T95 two-handed melee also costs 50% adrenaline for its spec, and that's looking even better than what Overpower is. Ranged, on the other hand, has no problems gaining adrenaline, so we're going to see a lot more use out of its modification, the Igneous Calzil. This reduces the adrenaline cost of Deadshot to 60%, causing it to deal damage in a 42 to 210% hit, followed by 7 hits of 70% ability damage. I should mention that bleed abilities are unaffected by a lot of the damage buffs. This includes prayers, perks, Berserker's Fury, damage boosting ults, and various other effects, so it makes it very hard to compare and contrast the two, but let's go for it anyway. The total average damage of Deadshot is 616%, and it has the same adrenaline cost of Overpower. 60% as base, 50% with Ring, and 40% with Ring and Relic. On the other hand, Darkbow costs 65% as a base, 58.5% adren with Ring, and 52% adren with Ring and Relic. Darkbow deals 595% average damage over 2 hits, but those 2 hits are affected by all those damage boosts like Prayer, Berserker's Fury, so it's actually more damage than Deadshot does. Despite being less damage, it still has its uses. It's 8 total hits, so if you're using Inspiration, you can refund up to 12% adrenaline. It's a bunch of small hits, so it works very well with Soul Split and the ECB spec. And on top of that, Nex has a soft cap for hits above 2k on its final phase, so repeated small hits will tear through her, making Zero's phase that much easier. As it's a bleed ability, I would avoid using it in group PVM unless you know that someone else isn't also going to use Deadshot and overwrite your ability, as not getting the full bleed can kill its damage potential. Unlike Claws, Darkbow EOF is still very good and will be a part of almost every DPS rotation for range. Magic is our last style, and it also has no problems gaining adrenaline with the synergy of Tsunami, Smoke Tendrils, and Greater Concentrated Blast. Just so many crits and so much adrenaline gained. In the past, it was just spam the Gothic Staff spec as much as you can to drain your adrenaline, but now we have a new way to do that, which is slightly better. Omnipower. The Igneous Calmej reduces the adrenaline cost of Omnipower to 60%, and it also hits 4 times, and the ability damage for each hit is shown below. I assume that the Channeler's Ring doesn't work and it's 4 instant hits, and that's because they didn't say over X seconds as they usually do for channeled abilities. And this will cost 60% adrenaline, but knock down to 50% with the Ring of Vigor and 40% with the Ring of Vigor and Conservation of Energy. Each hit deals between 101 to 178% ability damage, leading to a total average damage of 572%. In comparison with the Gothic Staff special, which uses 25 to 20% adrenaline and deals 241% ability damage. This is really good as you're essentially replacing 2 of your Gothic Staff special attacks with the Omnipower. On top of that, it has 4 hits, and that can trigger up to 4 crits, netting you more adrenaline with Tsunami or more damage with the Staff of Armadyl special attack. This feels like the most powerful and most useful of the 3 modifications, as it fits perfectly with what Jagex has done to the mage style over the past 6 months with God Wars Dungeon 3. You can also combine all 3 of these capes together to create the Igneous Calzuk, which provides the same stats as the other capes, but also has the ability modifications all in one. This won't change much except for when you're hybriding, but it's a nice quality of life to be able to have only one cape and not have to swap between the 3 every time you change style. What do you think about the capes? What are you excited for with the full front? Let me know down below. If you enjoy the content I'm creating, consider subscribing. A lot more math-based videos like this one coming later. But past that, have a good day, and I'll catch you on the next one.